And,
Okay, why
you know,
not?
the project was important to me because I had ulcerative colitis and now Crohn's, and certainly
Kick a horse when it's down, huh?
hate for people to be enjoying themselves. So,
You're kind of freezing there, Carrie.
Yeah.
am I?
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
Oh, there
Yeah,
you
there
are.
you go.
I might have
Yep.
to move. Thank you, Paula. Oh, okay.
So why don't we get started? It's 7:01. And just in terms of reviewing the agenda,
Recording in progress.
uh, we are going to approve the minutes for the last two meetings. We have opportunity for public comment. There's a request for modification of the timeline for Summit Drive, which Ade will go into and explain. And then Meadowbrook would like to sell tobacco, so we're going to have a discussion about that, followed by the tobacco regulations. I think this is our fourth meeting on the tobacco
Oh,
regulations. We
Boy.
really put these to bed at some point.
yeah, really.
Update on the community health needs assessment, coalition update of BRIS1, the usual monthly report, and then some issues around meeting logistics going forward. So that's about it. In terms of the minutes for February 2nd and March 2nd, I think they look fine to me. Any comments or questions? No.
On the more recent one, March 2nd ones,
Yeah.
under update of tobacco,
Yes.
line 3. It
Can you
says,
just share that, Cassidy? Thank you.
okay, so under update, oh, can you scroll? Thank you. Update on tobacco regs, line 3.
Yeah.
It says statutes. Should that be statutes?
Oh, good catch.
Oh my goodness.
Correct.
That's a tricky
Should be.
one.
So,
Good job.
you know,
Good job.
if at any point you guys feel I'm being too picky, just say the word.
No, not at
Oh,
all.
I can't even find it. Where?
Oh, it's on under
Statutes from 2019. Line 3.
Oh, okay. So just statue, right?
statutes. Should have a T in there.
Statutes.
A
There's an
second
extra
T. There, no, yeah.
TUCES.
No, still wrong.
TUTES.
Yep, that's it.
Sorry. Page 11. Bottom of page 11.
Page 11.
Oh, sorry. That's wrong. I'm on something else. Never mind. That's under the tobacco, the other tobacco one.
So anything else on the minutes? We actually, Paula, we actually did plant that word just to make sure you were reading them. And so
Yep, my dad
everybody
was a
is.
technical writer and I'm his daughter.
That's awesome.
So I would make a motion then to approve the minutes of February 2nd and March 2nd. We have a second on that.
Second.
Carrie, a roll call. Paula,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
and Rick, yes. So the
And if
minutes-
anybody heard that, it was a can of seltzer, not a can of beer.
Public comment. I don't see any member of the public here. Or if you, is there a member of the public here that if you want to just raise your hand on the reactions for the Zoom?
So we have 2 members from the
Okay.
public. They are here for a reason. So I'm not sure if that's part of the public comment or not, but Mr. Bean is here for 4 Summit Drive, Unit 419, and Mr. Kevin Franey is here for the Middlebrook Golf Club tobacco permit.
Okay, so we should, they can speak when we get to those agenda items.
Correct.
The public comment is for sort of general off topic. Yeah. Okay. So with
Carlos
that,
got his hand up, doesn't he? Oh, sorry, never mind. Hi, Carlo. I thought I saw a hand up, but no.
Hi, Carla.
here comes.
Hi,
Uh,
Jack.
This is Mike, and I'm not sure how to raise my hand on this application.
We will call on you when a day goes over that agenda item, which is actually next. So, Dave, do you want to take this? one?
Yes, absolutely. All right, so this is 4 Summit Drive, Unit 419. Mr. Bean, the owner, is here with us. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Bean. Just a quick background. On March 27th, we deemed the apartment unfit for human habitation due to significant water damage and lack of electricity. So the owner was given 7 days to rectify the issues, and as of this morning, the repairs are still ongoing. Mr. Bean would like to request additional time to get the repairs completed. And, so far he's been compliant, and he has been able to provide accommodation for the tenants at an extended stay hotel in Woburn. He's pretty much doing everything right. So I would recommend granting Mr. Bean an extension to bring the apartment back to compliance. Mr. Bean, how soon do you think you can get the repairs completed?
So as of today, this afternoon, we were able to get the electrical service restored finally to the condominium. My contractor is requesting 4 weeks to complete the repairs, which were extensive. It was extensively damaged, and we were required to rewire the entire condominium because the electrical panel got flooded, so every single wire had to be replaced. Every single electrical fixtures had to be replaced.
Right.
That meant cutting into every single wall in the condominium. So there's an extensive amount of repair work that has to be done. Plus, we have to remove all of the water damaged sheetrock and so forth. So he's requesting 4 weeks to get that work done. Then, do we need to have an occupancy permit granted before the tenants can move back in?
Absolutely. We would have to do an inspection to make sure that you've complied with everything we've asked you to do, and to make sure that it's fit for human habitation, and then we'll go from there.
So 4 weeks out will put us to Friday, the 12th of May. But then if there has to be some time for you to do inspections, I don't believe that you do anything on Friday or the weekend. So would Monday be able to do the inspections on the 15th? Or do we need to
Absolutely.
request more time?
I mean, I would say you should request one additional week to make it 5 weeks, just as a cushion for whatever event that might happen. So my recommendation or suggestion would be to do 5 instead of 4, especially since nobody is living in the apartment at the moment, and you've shown us that you're able to take care of your tenants, which is a good thing. Dr.
That would
Lopez?
put us to Friday, the 19th of May.
So I would, I would be fine with this. I think that since the tenant's not living there, there's not any immediate public health, public safety issue. And so, and it sounds pretty extensive in terms of the damage. So extending to May 19th, with the expectation that once there's an inspection and an occupancy permit granted some point during that week, then that would be fine with me. Other comments, other members feel any differently or no?
Seems reasonable to me.
So I'll make a motion to extend the time frame in terms of the compliance time to May 19th.
Second,
Second, roll call, Carrie? Yes, I think that was a yes.
you're muted.
You're muted.
That's a yes. Sorry.
Paula,
Yes.
Rick, yes. So the timeframe is extended to May 19th. Thank you for coming and working with us on this, Mr. Bean.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Feel free to stay on to listen to the rest of the meeting. And, if you want to leave, you can leave as well. It's up to you.
Well, I'll stay for a little bit. I'm just sort of interested in what's happening. I don't know if I'll stay for the entire 2 hours till 9 p.m., but I'll stay on for a little bit. Thank you.
Sounds good.
You're welcome.
Okay,
All
Dave.
right. The next item on the agenda is Meadowbrook Golf Club. Mr. Freeney is proposing to secure a retail tobacco permit from the town of Reading for cigars only. We currently have 15 permitted tobacco retailers in the town of Reading. It looks like at one point in time, we had 19 tobacco establishments. And as time went by, 4 out of the 19 permits were permanently retired. The current law allows for up to 19 retail permits. However, it means that the board must take a vote to reactivate one of the permanently retired permits, which would be contrary to the goal of reducing the number of tobacco establishments within the town of Reading. I will now hand it to Dr. Lopez and the board to figure out how you would like to proceed. Here are the options. Would you like to reactivate one of the retired permits to allow Meadowbrook Golf Club to hold a retail permit? Or would you like to deny their proposal and put them on the waiting list? And the third option would be to revisit this at a later time, perhaps after the updated regulation has been signed into law. Dr. Lopez?
So, Kevin, could you speak to what Meadowbrook is thinking around this permit and what the rationale is and what that would look like, just so we have a good sense of more about your request?
Sure, no problem. So my name is Kevin Freeney. I was hired here February 15th to be the new head golf professional here at Meadowbrook. And along with that job comes the concession, basically, of the shop here, the golf shop. So selling golf balls, clubs, apparel, etc. That's sort of a benefit of the job here that I've taken. So I just had some requests for cigars here in the shop. I'm probably looking at just one vendor. I would guess between 100 and 200 cigars total throughout the year. I looked through some of the regulations here. All the ones they're over the $5 retail value that are mentioned in these regulations. It's really just here in the golf shop selling cigars, to the members here at the club. Maybe they smoke a cigar out on the golf course or take one home with them. There's no smoking on premises over at the building. That's a club rule, I believe. So it's really just, me selling 100 to 200 cigars a year out of the golf shop.
Have you had much of a request for that?
A few, yeah, for sure. I definitely have. I think it's typical, all the other courses I've worked at, to sell cigars out of the shop. So just something I'm trying to do here. And honestly, I know you're calling it Meadowbrook Golf Club, but I am actually a Kevin Freeney golf shop that operates out of here. If that makes a difference in any way, it's a sole proprietorship. Technically, the retail business here, and I do have all the state licenses, etc.
So, question for the board. We've gone through these regulations now way too many times. So I'm misremembering a lot of it. Didn't we create a provision that said when something was retired, we were whittling that number down? And could someone remind me exactly what that language is at this point?
Right, I think the current sort of limit is 19 a day.
Correct.
Correct. And when Maureen was here and we had a discussion about this, the question was, well, do we want to keep the limit at 19? Do we want to change it? There was an opportunity to actually potentially go to 0 if we retired every permit that was discontinued over time. There's a potential it would go to 0. We thought that was sort of extreme. And so we were in that discussion, as I recall, we were saying, well, we're at 19 now. We could stay at 19. We could, write the regulation so that over time, every time a permit is turned in and retired, no new permits are issued. And then over time, obviously, that goes to 0. I think we sort of picked a number in between and said, okay, well, let's go with 12 as sort of the limit, so that as permits get retired, we let the numbers dwindle down until they get to 12. And then on a waiting list, there would be entities that wanted permits. And then when it got to 11, we would, allow another permit to keep it at 12. So that was the nature of the discussion. And it's based on the data, which is in the preamble to the regulations that we've reviewed, that say that higher the density of tobacco retail establishments in a community, the higher the incidence of tobacco use is. And that is also true for density in terms of, how many there are in a particular area. So based on that research, that's the notion, that's the sort of theory behind limiting the number of permits. At the same time, though, to be realistic, we can outlaw tobacco in Reading, and that will probably mean absolutely nothing because people will go to every other town around, if they want to purchase tobacco. So there's, in my mind at least, there's no reason to go to extremes. I think that I would like to personally, I want to hear from everyone, but personally, I would like to set some limit on the number of permits so that it's not open-ended and increasing sort of willy-nilly. I don't think there's anything magic about 12 that we had discussed. And it seems like in this particular case, it's a very limited retail opportunity in a relatively cordoned off area of the community that's not frequented by anybody except the club members. And so it seems like a very low risk. And given that the request is coming in at sort of just as we're trying to make a decision about the regulations, we might, provide some latitude here.
Well, I guess that was more my question, Rick, is more around, have we adopted that yet? I guess is what I was kind of looking at.
No, currently,
Okay.
currently,
Currently we can add up to
currently it's 19. So
Okay.
currently we can approve this today.
All
The proposed
don't have any
regulations
conflict
haven't
there.
been finalized.
Okay, so there's no conflict there. Granting a tobacco license comes with the ability to sell all tobacco? or do we, or can we tailor it?
I had that question too, Kevin.
Well, it will be a tobacco retail store permit that he would
I
have.
believe technically I could sell anything. You know, I'm happy to sign any agreement that states pretty much what I told you. If it's just cigars, it's going to be a single vendor, say under 200 a year.
Because Rick, I think if that's the case, Kevin, Rick, I'd agree with you in if it's one specific item that people are probably bringing with them to the golf course anyway. I don't have a problem with it. I would like to have maybe we need to re-talk about these regulations yet again for another night. I would like to have the ability to structure something though, like that restricts it to a specific type of tobacco product and not all. Because I think I think, you know, granting it all kind of defeats the purpose of what we're looking to do to bring the numbers down, right?
Right.
That to me is where the conflict is, not with the cigars only, but that's just my 2 cents.
I would agree with you, Kevin. I was thinking the same thing.
Correct. That was why I provided the third option, which would be to revisit this once the updated regulation has been signed into law. And you know, I think that would not let it look like you are violating the current law that you put in place.
So,
Well, that was my question. Is it actually in place right now, Ade, or are we still not voted on that provision?
So for the current law that we're under right now, it says 19.
Okay. So, but if we wait to revisit this after, then we need to
After
have a
we pass the new law, then there should be no violation of anything.
but what we have 14 open permits right now currently, right?
We have 15 right now, and then we have Middlebrook, Mr. Franey asking for one, which will be 16.
Right.
And then we've received a couple of adult only retail tobacco store inquiries. So that can push
So
it up to 17 or 18.
Sorry, so my question's more
Correct.
around structurally how we have this set up more than anything else. If we enact the new laws and then revisit it after, do we have provisions that allow us to say if the board chooses to have more than 12, they can do so, or are we going down to 12 and then everyone's on a waiting list until we get to 11? You know what I'm saying?
I'm thinking a win-win situation will be with this new law that's on your screen right now. It says
Mhm.
at any given time, there shall be no more than 12. I think we should put it up to 16 or 17. It's 2 down from 19, which is the current one. And then any additional applications will go on the waiting list.
Okay.
I mean, we currently, right now we have 15 permitted.
Could we also grant this and potentially another one of an, you know, adult tobacco store based on the current regulations, which would keep us under 19, but then adopt the 12 number in the new regulations with the idea that we're way over 12 at that point, you know, we might be 17, but we would not grant any more until we got down to 11. And then we would go to the waiting list to, you know, we could bump it up to 12. So we could actually under the current regulations approve this permit as well as potentially another and not walk away from the 12 in the long term. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, except Ade, do we have other applications or do we just know folks have expressed interest in applying? Do we have anything that before us that we can approve? In addition to Mr. Franey, I mean. Oop, he dropped off.
Yeah, where did that go?
He dropped off.
Just
Let's go.
a food for thought on this, on paragraph 8 here. we may want to discuss having an exemption for the board to be able to vote. Kevin brings in a very unique situation I don't think any of us really thought of when we were doing this. I think, I won't speak for the board, but I feel like we did this more around all tobacco products, right? So this is we're taking into stores that sell everything. Well,
Right.
this is a very
Right.
small niche in that field where future boards may want to have the option to say, hey, you know what, have them come before us because we can always have an exemption over that 12. So the more I read this, the more I hate to pigeonhole future boards into an unusual circumstance that we couldn't think of, such as the one Kevin brought before us tonight. So I think we should discuss putting a D, letter D in there, exemption, and come up with a language for that.
But Kevin, isn't, as a board, this board or any future board, we have the opportunity to amend a regulation at any time. We don't need permission in the regulation to allow us to do it. We can decide to amend it, a line or a number at any time in the future, right?
You can, but if you put an exemption that the board has the right to vote, it just makes it cleaner and simpler for the board to do it. Right, so then it just becomes, you throw it on the agenda, board's voting on letter, section 8, letter D, exemption to open up another permit. And then it's just a discussion about that one specific place that's coming before us trying to get the permit, not the whole body of it. It's just cleaner and
So-
easier. It's the same thing,
Sorry.
right? We're talking, we're
Yeah,
split
yeah.
hairs, basically the same thing.
Sorry, so it would be essentially, you're suggesting that we put in a provision to allow an application for a waiver.
A waiver
Basically.
over the 12.
Yes.
Yes. Or, who knows what other very specific thing may come along that just makes sense for that particular. This is a very unique, I think, circumstance where it's a very small, small thing that's not affecting the use of tobacco on that golf course, right? So it's
Yeah,
this is just-
another thing that I just thought of is a hookah bar. What if somebody wants to open a hookah bar?
Yes,
Just throwing it out there.
you're right.
Alright.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But so then my question is, is there anything beyond just the ability to apply for a waiver? Do we want to say apply for a waiver for specific narrow circumstances, not like the full scale sale of tobacco? To me, that's in the spirit of what we're talking about. Kevin doesn't love that.
No, sorry. Someone was walking by my window. I was waving.
Oh, sorry.
No, but I think that might be very difficult to define.
Yeah.
I mean, like we didn't even think about this, this very narrow tobacco, cigar thing last month. Who knows, in 12 months, someone comes up with some idea that, it would be very hard to define when you could
It would
do
be.
a
I
waiver.
agree, but what I'm looking at is what I'm hearing and what I would be interested in is an opportunity to apply for a waiver for less than a desire to sell all tobacco products, like any of the vendors that we have in town that, have cigars and cigarettes and, so it seems different. So I'm not
Yeah, I know.
asking.
I know what you're going after, Carrie. Yeah, it's a
don't-
hard. It's still. Rick's right though. It is hard to do it. It's definitely hard to do it on the fly.
Right.
Which is why I know you hate me. I said we should probably have another night of tobacco regulations on the book. Sorry, and come up with that. But I know exactly what you're saying. That's a tricky thing. Maybe it's just simpler, I guess, than what Rick was talking about earlier. Just leave it as. We can amend it at any given point in time, and I get that. So we could just amend the number to 13. So if we so chose to a year from now, because someone brought a specific thing to us, I just would want to have that get all the way to us. I wouldn't want there to be a conversation where it's just, well, we're at 12, so sorry, and nothing comes before the board, whether this board or a future board, and you don't even hear about it. And it's something that like that Kevin has brought that kind of makes a lot of sense to be able to provide. It's hard. It's a tricky little one.
Two things. First of all, I don't from a code enforcement perspective, we want to make the regulations easy to interpret.
Hmm.
That's the first thing.
Yes.
Secondly, we want to ensure we protect the integrity of our regulations. We don't want, anytime somebody wants something, they come to us and we change it based on their needs and their wants every time. We don't want to, make our regulations look like something that's trivial, something you can just break whenever you want, just go to the board and,
Ask for
they'll-
a waiver. Yes.
exactly. We don't
Yes.
want that. So,
Right.
So set a
My-
number on it and be done with it, basically.
correct.
They-
So the,
Okay.
the realistic thing to do is right now we're at 15 and it's been that for years. Going to 12 is not realistic. I think we should set it at 16 or 17. And once we do that, we know that, okay, we're only going to have 17 retail establishments in the town of Reading. And then anybody that wants to open a new establishment can go on the waiting list.
So,
That's the way I see it.
so Ade, let me, and we probably ought to vote on the specific request here, but because this is actually the next agenda item, this discussion. But if we approve this, and maybe we approve, and you can tell us more about, the other couple of entities that are interested in getting a permit. But if we approve this under the current regulations, which we absolutely can do, because the upper limit is 19. What harm is there in the future in leaving 12? All that means is that, who's ever has a permit, and future folks would just have to, go on the wait list until we get down to that number. It wouldn't impair, it's not going to cause any, we're not going to take away any permits. That's not what we're talking about. So I don't quite understand why we couldn't leave it at 12, even though today we vote for the 16th one, and maybe, next month we vote for the 17th one, but we could still have the sort of goal being 12 in the final regulations. So these come in under the current regulations.
But,
So
but
here's the current regulation on your screen, right? At any given time, there shall be no more than 19 tobacco product sales permit issued in Reading, reduced by the number of permits not renewed pursuant to section 610 of the regulation. And then if you go to 610, it says as of August 1st, 2017, any permit not renewed, either because a retailer no longer sells tobacco products as defined herein, or because a retailer closes the retail business, shall be returned to the Reading Board of Health and shall be permanently retired by the board. And the total allowable number of tobacco product sales under paragraph 9 shall be reduced by the number of the retired permits.
got it.
There's nowhere in this regulation that says if somebody wants to open an establishment, they can come and reactivate a retired.
Right. Got it.
Okay. So if you do that, you are pretty much making the regulation look mundane. There's no seriousness to it. It means the next person can come, ask for the same thing, and then you grant it. So what I'm saying is the regulation we're working on, we need to be realistic about it. We already have 15 permitted establishments. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. So I think the more realistic thing to do will be to accommodate this in the updated regulations. So instead of having 12, we can have 17. And then once we have 17, Mr. Freeney can come back and we can grant him his permit. That way, we're not doing anything in contrary to our current regs. And we're also granting him his application under the new laws.
Can I ask a point of clarification? I
Sure.
want, I want to make, so a day, if we were, all circumstances being equal, if we were to vote tonight for the new reg as it's written, we would say there will be no more than 12. And if we do that, we have effectively closed off the ability to honor a new application.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right, so it's not a choice, so it's either increase the number. Well, it's not, I mean, it's either increase the number or say, no, we've already moved ourselves to the place of saying, no, we're only gonna have 12, so we're not gonna have more businesses added. Is that right?
Correct. So
Okay.
I think we should, the board should increase the number to like 16 or 17. And Mr. Freeney can come back.
Right.
Once he comes back, it can get approved, no issues. We're not violating the current regulation, and everything is legal under the new regulation. And you know, anybody else that wants to apply, they can. There's still going to be one permit out there, and once that's filled up, you know, other applicants can be on the wait list. It's totally up to the board. You don't have to approve anything tonight, you know.
Sorry, one more point of clarification. Sorry. So, sorry, because I can't read it, and like Kevin, I don't remember everything quite right. So we say when if a business stops selling and they return the permit to the board, is it that permit is automatically retired
Permanently
permanently? So
permanently retired.
So do we need to change our language to say, to give the board the option to allow that to be kept alive then?
So if you look at the new regs, I don't think that language is in the new regs.
Right. Okay, thank you.
If I may, along those same lines, I thought I read just this afternoon that there is the option of someone who has a business that is selling tobacco products of transferring their license. Am I correct? Their permit, rather.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
but
Right,
this is
so
not
that's
the
the
front.
new. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Rick, I had a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I know you guys have been working hard at this, so maybe it's been covered. Since this is a seasonal business, and is it out of the ordinary to create a special, it's the only country club in town. Is it okay to create a seasonal license? I mean, I can't see any other scenario in Reading where this would apply. Maybe I'm wrong, but 5 boards from now, and Meadowbrook is still here, and there might be a lapse. There might be a different Kevin who doesn't want to sell cigars, and then a new Kevin 2.0 that got retired, and they want to sell cigars. So am I out of line that maybe a provision should be there for a seasonal tobacco use permit? I don't know. That's what I was thinking when you guys were talking. I apologize if I already.
I think we covered that, didn't we? When we talked about at any point in time, we can revisit this and make an exception.
Well, except didn't we then say that we didn't want to do that because we don't want to we don't want to water down our regulations. Oh boy, we're all tangled up.
Yeah. I think I want to get back and sort of get back to the Meadowbrook issue. a day, is there a reason we couldn't simply approve it tonight and that particular one and go up to, you know, whatever, 16, and then with the idea that when we do the new regulations, we might have change that number of 12 to 17. And so there would still be one available, one left.
Yeah, you can do that if you choose to.
Yeah.
But I think what Dave was saying earlier, though, is that we'll be going against the current regulation, which says it's permanently retired. We'd have to unretire a permanently retired license.
We'd have to. Say that again, Kevin.
We'd have to unretire a permanently retired license right now.
I see. Okay.
That's his point earlier, saying
I see. Okay.
Current regulation, you can do it, but
Hmm.
you know, how much water does your regulations hold if you do something like that, right? So kind of
So
agreed
it'd
with
be
that.
cleaner, it'd be
It's cleaner to do
pass-
what a day it said and just go put a number on it for the new regulation and then revisit the application at that point.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, so why don't we defer a decision on the Meadowbrook request to next month's meeting, and hopefully between tonight and the first part of next month's meeting, we'll be able to finalize the regulations, and then review Meadowbrook's request in the context of the new regulations.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Agree.
So thank you, Kevin,
Great.
for coming, and hopefully we'll see you again next month.
Okay, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hmm.
So in terms of our next agenda, the tobacco regulations, we've already had a substantial conversation about that. And I think we've already decided to change the number 12 to 17. The new revised regs that the town council had provided and was included in our packet has I think what the things that we had talked about with respect to using the state's fine structure of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, and including suspension periods that we had voted on, which was 3, 7, and 30 for first, second, and third violations. And I believe that a day was going to insert a definition of adult retail store in the definitions, so that, because I think that's the other potential request that's coming down the line, so that we have it in the regulations. I'm not sure that there's everybody's had a chance to read it. I'm not sure there were any other areas of confusion, contention, or disagreement, but if there are, you know, we should address them, and hopefully we can come back to a clean final copy next month. Were there any other questions on this? No, Jerry, Karen, Paula, page 11.
Yes.
Yeah, bottom of page 11. This is just, it might be,
No, you're good, Paula. This, I just like remembering it.
it's
'cause
tedious though. I know it's tedious.
No, it's fine. It's important, so it's worthwhile.
Of course, now I can't find it. Second sentence after only. No, that's not the page I was talking about. Just, there was a section that had the word only in caps.
Can you just search for only? and see, see what we get.
Well, I think that would be in the minutes, not in the regulation.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe the date is right, that it did say only underlined in the March minutes, so he is right. But I
Okay.
can, if you can remember, just let me know.
I will. Never mind that.
Okay.
Let's move on. Um,
And we talked about last time, which I think was incorporated, and the town council agreed that although we're going with the state fine structure, there's an option for appeal and consideration. Actually, what the town council recommended was not to change it, but perhaps in those circumstances, um, fine the entity, half the amount, with the other half sort of pending unless, if there's a future infraction or something like that. She or he was just concerned more about consistency.
I like that. That's a elegant elegant way of coping with that. I like that.
Right, right. So Dave, were there any other substantive issues, or do you have enough to go back and finalize this?
Well, I know that you had mentioned the public hearing. And
Oh, yes.
I inquired about that, and the response from town council was that the Massachusetts general laws only require publication of a summary of the regulation amendment in the newspaper, pretty much. So, we're not required to have a hearing as long as we publish it in the newspaper and just summarize the amendments. And as soon as we do that, the regulation goes into effect.
Okay. As I think I mentioned in previous meetings, given that the vast majority of the changes are actually state changes from 2019, that we don't have an option to agree or not agree to. And given that the Reading specific items are relatively small, and given that this board of 5 highly intelligent, esteemed individuals have spent several hours poring over this, I think, opening this up to the public, there's very little gain, and it would be, I don't think, worthwhile. I mean, obviously, if somewhere along the line there was an incredible pushback around something, and we would hear it out and we can always readdress it. But I just don't think a hearing would probably be a good idea, even though I mentioned it originally as something to think about.
well, I think the fact that we've had this on our agendas for so many months now, and that we are open to public comment, and no one has come forward with any comment, is kind of an indication that I think we don't need to go hash this out any further.
Yeah.
And also to keep in mind too, this doesn't really so much affect the residents as it does affect the businesses.
Correct.
Right now, we're talking about a regulation that affects 15 entities in town, not 25,000.
Right.
Right.
And at any point in time, they could have appeared over these past several months. So I say, let's move forward with this.
Okay.
Put it to bed.
Put it to bed.
Just before you put it to bed, did you want to talk about the number?
I thought
we had sort of decided on 17.
Okay, if we've already, okay.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
Carrie, did you hear that? 17's okay with you? You're muted.
I did, yes. I have y'all on. It's loud and it's on loud. I just needed to.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. Yes,
Sure.
I agree. 17 is fine.
Okay, so next steps on this is finalizing the document with town council. We'll plan to vote. next month on it. We can bring back Meadowbrook. Um, and, uh, and then, make a decision then about that very specific permit. And then, Ade, do you want to talk at all about an adult retail store, or you want to just wait until next month? Or I don't know, you may not have enough information about it, so.
Well, just two things. I think that the board should convene prior to bringing Mr. Freni in. I
Mhm.
think that the regulation should be signed into law
Mhm.
prior to bringing Mr. Freni in.
Okay.
And honestly speaking, once it's signed into law, there will be no need for Mr. Freni to come back to the board. I can just approve the
Right,
application.
that's right, because
Okay.
we would be within the limit. Okay.
Okay,
that's
good.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is we currently don't have any adult only retail tobacco stores in the town of Reading, but we've had a couple of inquiries. Now I don't know if they're serious about it, but there's nothing in regulation that prohibits adult only retail tobacco stores, and I think we should be proactive. Instead of coming back another 3 months and adding that to the regulation, I think we can just go ahead and do it now, and just get it over with.
Okay. Sounds good.
And the definition is right on the screen, highlighted in yellow. So
Mm-hmm. I have to say, there's a part of me that feels like we're going backwards.
Hmm.
In that we're increasing the numbers rather than decreasing them. I understand why we're doing it,
Hmm.
but it just needles me.
Well, we would be decreasing from 19 to 17, so it's incremental change, I guess. You know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to do what they did in New Zealand. And they passed a law in the past year in New Zealand that prohibits the selling of tobacco products to anyone sort of born after, it was probably 2007 or 2008, whatever, probably 21. So it might even be earlier. But prohibited it like forevermore.
Right.
So, over generations, as people get older,
Sure.
you won't be able to sell to,
Yep.
35-year-olds or 50-year-olds in 50 years or whatever. It was a sort of a nice way to kind of put off doomsday, but for smokers, but allow a gradual change over time. So ultimately the country will be tobacco free, in X number of years. But I don't think we have the authority to do that a day. Is that? I'm only kidding.
That's an interesting experiment.
Interesting concept.
Yeah.
It is.
You're going to find out real quick how black markets do work.
I was thinking the same thing, Kevin.
So
I
it's,
was thinking
you know,
the same thing.
Yeah.
I prefer to control it. Is always my preference. I say
Yeah.
legalize it all and control it all. You build the
That's
black
true.
market, not the open market.
I suppose we should have learned something from prohibition,
Right?
Yeah. All right.
yeah. So
So moving on, the community health needs assessment updates a day.
okay, so it appears we now have a planning committee made up of 7 individuals for our community health needs assessment project. The members of the planning committee include me, Dr. Lopez, chair of the Board of Health, board member Paula, Dr. Sudeshna, director of Equity and Social Justice, Mary Juliana, Health Services Director for Reading Public Schools, Erica McNamara, Coalition Director, and Marilyn Shapley, Council on Aging Chair. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, April 19th from 12 to 12:30 p.m. Just a few side notes. Mary Juliana is out for the weeks of April 17th and 24th. And
She's in
Dr.
South Africa.
and Dr. Sidishna is out till the end of April. So, you know, it's going to be somewhere in May that we would have a full planning board at the meeting.
And are these going to be Zoom meetings a day or in
Yes.
person?
Zoom
Okay.
meetings.
Can I ask how the composition and the board members were chosen? Because I was very interested in it and I wasn't aware there was any selection happening or that there was a limitation.
Well, I sent out an email asking
did?
people to, correct, yes, I did. If, you know, you wanted to be on the planning committee, I asked to email me directly. And I pretty much went off of those that showed interest via email.
Okay.
And I mean, there's it's just 7 members, so if you still want to join, you can. But
Okay.
there's a possibility that we might be violating the open meeting law if we have 3 board members at the meeting. I don't know. I can check
But
with
it's
town.
true. You have to
Yeah,
post
there's 2
anyway.
already.
You have
It-
to
that-
post.
that would
because it's
also-
true.
Yeah,
But also,
I
we
was
knew about
wondering
that
about that.
today.
So, yeah, I'll check with town council and
Okay.
take care of the legal aspect of things. But yeah, if you would like to be a member, I would
Yeah.
I would really appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, I just I have 4 email accounts, so I apologize if I missed that. I see all of your emails. I didn't remember seeing it. So
How about you just give me the 4 emails? Just give me the 4.
oh boy.
And I'll bombard you with messages.
No, I don't want my work email is bad. I don't.
know.
3 of them are work email accounts, so I don't. I don't.
I was just kidding.
that
I was just
I
kidding.
know. I know. So okay, thank you. I missed something, and I was just curious. So I usually catch all yours. I have a star on you a day. I don't.
Oh,
But-
great.
You feel loved today?
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Well, I'm still here. It's been a year and a half.
Yep, yep.
Only put stars on people I like.
Great.
Anyways,
So why don't you check with town council about even, I mean, there may even be an issue with Paula and I.
Yeah.
And
There is.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
need to post it
there
on
is,
Monday.
you think there will
Yeah.
be?
Post it
There
on
is.
Mondays.
That's
Board of Health meeting.
that's a bummer.
that's why we had to do the expansion, because 2 people, you can't, I mean, we talked about where are the Easter egg shells, Rick, but we can't talk about anything else. So
Mm, mm.
Can't deliberate anything that would come before the board, is the technical rule.
Technically, this is not the Board of Health meeting. It is peer associates meeting, and you guys would not be voting on anything or deciding on anything. It's just going to be a regular meeting to update the board and update everybody about what's going on. But yes, I will check with town council and take care of the legal aspect of things.
Okay. And if there is, you know, if town council says, you know, can't have more than 1 member, you know, I think we should think with peer associates how we could involve interested board members more frequently than just the board meetings, you know. And I don't know how that would be, whether we rotate, you know, sitting on the board, because I think these planning meetings, they're only 30 minutes. And so my guess is that there'll be a topic, you know, what should the survey say? Or who should the, you know, the folk be on the focus groups, or, you know, whatever. And so I'm not sure continuity is absolutely critical. So that might be one way to get around it. The best thing would be that the council says, you know, this is a side meeting of peer associates and unrelated. It would be great if they said that.
So quick question. We have Carlo Bacci and Jackie on right now. Are they violating?
no,
Well,
because there are
we have
5
five,
on the
five
board.
members. not
They
five
have
members.
5 members.
Okay, 5 members.
So the
Why don't
easy
you
answer
just
to your
post?
question, Rick, is to just post, but
Yeah.
then then two of you must show up or the meeting's not allowed to happen. So just keep that in mind.
But if you posted it, then does it have to be public, and B, do you have to have minutes?
Has to have public access, has to have minutes. You have to
Yeah.
have a quorum. So
Okay.
if it's, right now, the quorum is 2. If it goes up to 5, all 3 you must be at that meeting. So it'd be
Yeah.
nice to find out that you don't have to post it, but just keep that in mind. If you do have to post it and we're in your 3 body, 2 of you must show up. When we turn into a
Right.
5 body, all 3 of you must show up. Otherwise, you can't call the meeting to order.
Right, so hopefully we'll have to see what the town council says.
Correct.
Anything else on that, Ade? Anything else on the health assessment?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Kevin, any coalition update or?
Yeah, real quick, coalition met on the 29th of March. The good news, the clinician Tanya was named Employee of the Year. Nice
Oh,
little thing. And we're
nice.
excited that, the
Just
cashier
started. What happened?
position. What'd you say, Dave?
I said she just started. What happened?
It was cited, the care she brought to the clinician position is the reason why she got Employee of the Year. So they, also the SBIRT, and forgive me, I always forget this acronym, Kerry probably knows it, but this is the screening of the high school students. So,
The risk is
The
risk.
YBRFS,
no, this is SBIRT.
No, the SBIRT.
expert.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's risk behaviors in teens.
Yes, thank you.
yes.
So they've screened 197 students thus far this year. On a bad note, the substance misuse are now on the rise coming out of the pandemic, more going out, getting together, what have you. So they're seeing it kind of a little bit more on the rise. So something to keep in mind as well. Those are kind of the big takeaways that were kind of cross-related to us.
Thank you. Monthly report.
In the month of March, we conducted 6 food establishment inspections, 1 food establishment re-inspection, 1 food complaint inspection, 4 housing complaint inspection. We issued 3 temporary food permits, 2 for Winterfest, and 1 for Reading Memorial High School. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will now defer to Public Health Nurse Mallory to provide updates on disease surveillance, reporting, and control.
Could I ask what the complaints were?
Absolutely. Hey, can you please put them up, Cassidy? Hold on, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't want everybody to see the addresses and privacy reasons. I'll pull it up. Just 1 second.
If it's too much, I'm just.
No, it's not. It's not.
curious.
I'm there right now. I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, so we had, Summit Drive was one of the complaints.
Yeah.
Reading Terrace, Wooded Street, and Ace Flats.
Well, I saw those, but I didn't see what the specifics were. Oh,
Okay,
the Ace Flats was the dog excrement. I remember that.
Correct. Excessive dog waste on property. Wooded was violations with the swimming pool. And
That's a private swimming pool?
yes, private swimming pool. Reading Terrace was improper structures and tools all over the yard. And then Summit Drive was excessive water damage and lack of electricity. Yeah, the temporary events, 2 for Winterfest. Those were
Those I saw. Okay, but was there also a food complaint I thought I saw?
yes. This is a little bit frivolous, but the resident complaint, maybe frivolous is not the right word, but resident complained about getting food poisoning 1 hour after eating from the location. I don't want to mention the location at this point.
But was it verified or?
Yes, we conducted our inspection, and it was not verified that the
Oh, okay,
the food poisoning was from that establishment. And
okay, thank you.
we asked the resident to contact the doctor and get some stool specimen taken, and the person refused it. So
There you go. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Hi.
Ma-
So for COVID, we stay the same, 8 active cases of COVID. There's no clusters. Flu has been the same. We're still hosting monthly Vaccinate RX clinics. We did just have a mammogram van yesterday. That went really well. Everyone seemed to really like it. And I held a Narcan class with the coalition last Thursday, which went really well. And I'm still hosting a blood pressure clinic at the library every second Monday of the month.
How many people did you have in attendance, Mallory, at the mammogram?
I think it was 16 confirmed, but she was taking walk-ins. A lot of people didn't call her back. It would have been, I think, almost 25 if people called her back. They left a lot of voicemails.
Okay, great.
But we are going to get the final numbers next week.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Great offering.
Yeah.
And a couple of questions for the board. Do you want us to still continue to report the COVID numbers?
Yes. Just like any other infectious disease numbers is what I'm thinking, right?
I would agree
Right,
with
it's
that.
like salmonella, flu,
Yeah,
right.
Yersinia, whatever. It's just a
Communicable disease.
right.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, in terms of the next agenda, future board meetings. So a day had passed on what the recent governor's executive order was, which was to extend the opportunity for remote hybrid meetings, in addition to in-person, of course, through March of 2025. And so, we have been kind of waiting to see, what that decision would be. Decisions out there. And so the question is around our meeting, and, how we want to proceed going forward. I had sent around some pros and cons of the various options, a large part of which was taken from the letter that I think the Granby Board of Health sent to the governor, back in February or March. And, and from their perspective, they were pleading for the governor to allow to continue remote meetings. And they listed the reasons, that Cassidy put up here, minimizing transmission of viruses. Of course, that was important, certainly at the height of the pandemic, but could also be important seasonally with influenza. The lack of protection in general in evening meetings and in town hall. And, I think you've probably all read through this. I think there are a lot of advantages to remote meetings. The disadvantages in my mind seem to be around people who may not have internet access and want to access public comment. Certainly, the meetings are on RCTV, so it's not that they can't see them. It would just be they wouldn't be able to participate in public comment, or if they have trouble managing the software for Zoom. And some residents just might feel more comfortable. And then it's just the traditional format is to have in person. And so that would be a con to continue remote meetings. And then in-person meetings are simply the reverse of everything. And hybrid meetings sort of have obviously a combination of pros and cons. For me, I think the biggest con is just, and maybe the select board doesn't be interested to know whether they have problems with this, but it would seem difficult to facilitate a meeting that, a member might be on the screen, a board member might be on the screen, board members are present, residents are on the screen, residents are present. And so you're trying to, coordinate a meeting in that kind of disassembled format. So anyway, I think we need to decide what we want to do going forward for the time being. I know that there's been an occasional resident who said, well, when are you going to in-person meetings? My understanding is that across the town, I think I may have asked Fidel this a few weeks ago, that some commissions and boards are meeting in person, others are continuing to meet on Zoom, some are hybrid. There hasn't been a single way of doing this, and I don't think there's been any formal policy adopted by the select board as to what various boards, commissions, and committees should be doing. So in the absence of that, I think we can make our own decision unless we hear otherwise. My own sort of sentiment is that the remote meetings seem to work well. It's easy to get people like we had tonight to come and talk to the board. It's easier for board members who may not be at home or in town to be able to participate. It's actually, I think, more accessible to the residents because they don't have to trudge into town hall and sit through an entire meeting. They can actually just go on. For those who have internet access and know how to use Zoom, we could perhaps do some workarounds for people who want to make a public comment but don't have internet access, or we might read their statement or something like that. So I'm kind of opening it up for discussion of what people are thinking. Silence is definitely.
So,
It's convenient.
I think it's, I love the commute.
Yeah, right?
Well, I've had plenty of people ask me though, certainly, when are you going back? When are you going back? And that was my answer. Well, I kind of like the commute, so don't ask me. I'm the wrong person to ask. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't have a problem. I mean, I know a lot of people do it, but it's like the only time that this is a problem is when it becomes contentious, right? Because then it's a lot harder, I feel like, just to read the room, so to speak, when you're on the Zoom meeting. So, but for, I think this is a really good board, and I think it's a very respectful board. I can see on a contentious board where this is a problematic format, right? But I don't see that here. So unless that changes, which I'm sure it won't with you folks, talk about future boards. I don't really see a big problem with it. I think it is great that people can call in. I think it's great that staff can be here from home and not be put out to have to, be at town hall, that they're enough. That folks can come and talk to us from the public if they're looking to get a tobacco license or whatnot. I think it's really convenient in that regard. It's such a small aspect of I can't get on that, and even still to that point, it's a phone-in number. You can call in. I know that's not optimal, but if you really want to get your voice, your public comment in, you can call in and get your public comment in while you're watching it up on TV. So I don't see a big problem with it. Now, a lot of people are going to yell at me tomorrow, but that's okay. But it's up to you, folks. It's whatever you want to do. I personally did like in-person board meetings just because it's just a little easier. I think the meeting flows sometimes a little bit better. But I think we've all adjusted and got used to this at this point.
Kevin, I think you've been on the Board of Health longer than any of us. When they were in-person meetings pre-pandemic,
Mhm.
was there a lot of residents who would come to the Board of Health meeting?
Oddly enough, we'd get more people in person than we would here, which surprises me. This is
Yeah.
so easy to come here.
Yeah,
But I think it's the daunting task of being on this screen, right? So they're in the meeting, the camera's on them, but they're small, they're in the background, sitting in a chair. They're not, here you go, high def. I'm here to complain about something. So I would say from that aspect, maybe that's probably why we've got less public comment now than we did when we had in-person meetings.
If we went with remote meetings, it doesn't preclude us from having an in-person meeting from time to time if there was a particularly contentious or whatever
That'd be a great idea.
topic. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
have in person.
I mean, for the most part, we're just trying to get some business done here, and it's like this is
Yeah.
wildly convenient.
Yes.
Again, people are going to yell at me if I keep saying that, but I'm going to keep saying that.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Kevin.
Yeah.
I do as well. I will say I miss in-person meetings. Just the with them, but this does not. We are able to do what we need to do this way, so that becomes more of a preference. For or it's a feeling, right? As opposed to a barrier or an issue for us being able to do our work. I like Kevin, of what you said or Rick, or did you say, perhaps we have occasional ones? I think preserving that opportunity, if we say, maybe really we should be gathering around the table together to talk about this, whatever. I think that's reasonable, but yeah, otherwise, hybrid is fine. And you're right, it's nice for staff.
Right.
They have long days, so.
Jerry, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if you guys can tell, I have this tissue here, so I'm feeling pretty badly tonight. So if it was in person,
sorry.
that's okay. No, but if it was in person, unless there was like a way to dial in remotely, I wouldn't have been able to come in.
Yep.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
Especially
COVID during one of the meetings, so that was nice. I was still able to participate. I got the positive test like that day. I had to run home.
So, Jerry, that's an interesting point that you bring up, because especially where we're transitioning to a 5 person voting board, which means you have to now have 3 members present. There could be quorum issues if they're always in person, right? Especially in the winter months.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we should continue with remote meetings, and if we decide for a particular topic we need to meet in person, we can do that. But otherwise, the sort of standard procedure would be these remote meetings. Frankly, I think they're, the pandemic has changed a lot of things, and this would have been hard to believe 3 years ago, but
right.
Things change.
It was illegal 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There you go, right there.
So that's decided. So then, first or second Thursday. So this
We
is.
don't have to vote on that, do we, by the way?
No.
I don't think so. Status quo. In terms of first or second Thursday, this is actually a request that I have. It's not a do or die thing, but I just kind of wanted to ask, since there's no magic as to when we meet. And that is that I've been on the Board of Registration in Pharmacy for the last 2 years as the token physician representative. They're all pharmacists, so I try to show the flag. But these meetings are the first Thursday of every month. And pre-pandemic, they were downtown. So you go down and they're all day. And so they've been on Zoom or WebEx or whatever the state does, during the pandemic. And they actually voted last week also to continue with remote meetings for the next 2 years as well. And so remote meetings, and those meetings are, from 8 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon. And so it's, I'm going to buy a better cushion for my desk chair here. But it can be a killer.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It does end at 4. There is a break before our board meetings from 7 to 9. And so, I mean, if it wasn't a big deal for anybody, I'd like to move them to the second Thursday. However, other people may have other commitments every first, or second Thursday that would make it impossible, and that's fine. It's not a big deal if it doesn't work for people. So I just wanted to raise it since we're talking about logistics.
I don't have a problem.
Problem here.
No
No
strong.
problem.
No.
Okay, great.
no issue.
Great. That would be good. Thank
Assuming
you,
staff's all good, yeah?
Oh, right, staff, is that,
staff.
Well, the only thing I
Yeah.
would
Mallory.
take a look at is look at the calendar to see how many holidays fall on the second Thursday of each month. If
Yeah.
we have like 3 or 4, it means we're cut out, we're short of 4 meetings in a year. So, we'll still have to take a look at that, but I think
Well,
it's a good idea.
Or we could just move it to the following week if it's a must need.
Yeah, the following, yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. If there are 4 holidays, then we're moving 4 meetings and then maybe but yes. But I don't think there's too many. I mean, Veterans Day would be the one, right? Because it's always the 11th, and sometimes that could land on the
Potentially,
could
yeah.
land on a Thursday. Could,
Not every
but
year.
not every year, right? But
That's the only one that comes to mind to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. My back appreciates that. And then the third thing that is something that Dave brought up, having had experience in other Board of Health meetings in other towns and over the years, is that frequently boards of health might actually plan not to meet during a summer meeting like July and then in December, in part because things slow down, or in part because it may be less convenient, unless there's an urgency to meet because something needs to be addressed. I think we didn't have a December meeting. I'm not sure.
I recall that
Yeah.
one time. Yeah.
Is that something that people are interested? We'd still be meeting 10 times a year and plus extra meetings as needed. I think it's reasonable and it's not unheard of. So any thoughts on that?
You could twist my arm.
Yeah, the only bad thing I could see about something coming like that, and you could just take it case by case. Obviously, 30 days is a long time for a vendor or somebody violation, something to wait to come before the board. So if there's something that's more not day-to-day operational kind of things, you may want to just keep it open to add in that meeting.
Yeah, that would, we could potentially sort of, everybody could keep it on their calendar and then, and that really holds true. Like we talked about today, we'll probably have a brief tobacco regulation meeting before, our May meeting. That holds true all the time. If there's an urgency, even between monthly meetings, we may need to meet for a short period.
Yeah, we've done that before too.
Yeah, we've done that before. So I think. Go ahead, Ade.
The current board, the pharmacy board you talked about earlier.
Yes.
Do they meet in July and December?
They do not meet in 1 month of the summer, either July or August. And I believe they do meet in December. But their agendas are, as you can imagine, 8 hours are quite long. The number of, new pharmacies, personnel issues, the regulations, for the state, it's just, the agenda is
Yep.
just on and on and on.
Hats
So I
off
don't
to
think
you,
they have
Rick.
as much liberty, and probably less flexibility, because there's like 12 members on the board, and then there's like another 5 or 6 staff who attend, and but the other reason for them to, well, in any case, so it's a little, they have less flexibility than I think we do. But they don't meet one meeting in the summer. Okay, so
I'll say myself that I mean, I think that summer months, I think that's lovely if we can pull it off. But I think that December is typically quite a wild month, and it's kind of nice if we can acknowledge that people are very busy for lots of reasons, and if we can make the space, I think that that's fair. And staff are busy, folks are busy, so.
okay.
Just one more thing I would like to chime in is we can pretty much still keep the schedule on the calendar, and a week prior to the meeting, based on what's going on and requests that I'm getting, I can inform the board that, hey, we don't have any requests this month. We don't have any pressing agenda item, so we can skip it.
Yep.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. That
Right.
preserves, Kevin's point about if there were a violation issue and we needed to do a hearing, that just makes it easy, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good. So we'll, that sounds like we're in agreement. Remote meetings, second Thursday, July and December, keep it on your books, but we might cancel if there's nothing urgent. And speaking of the next agenda item in terms of urgencies, Aday, when do you think, if we were to have like it probably would need to be more than a half hour, I wouldn't think, meeting on the final tobacco regulations prior to our August, prior to our May regular meeting, the second Thursday, when do you think that might be? So today's the 13th. Are you thinking like the 27th or the first week in May or something like that?
27th. And the reason I'm thinking that is it takes town council, depending on the urgency of the matter, it takes them about a week to get back. And I'm sure that the tobacco retailer for Meadowbrooks, I'm sure he's getting ready for summer, and he doesn't want to wait forever to be able to get the permit before he orders the goods and all those things. So I'm thinking the last Thursday in April should suffice.
Okay. So, okay. So hopefully people can just sort of mark that in your calendars, and then when we get closer to that date, Aday, you'll let us know if it's a go and the specific timing and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the meeting wouldn't be for too long, probably I would say 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Don't jinx us. Yes, that's the plan. 30 minutes. That'll be awesome.
Okay, it's in there.
Yep.
Okay, so anything else we need to touch bases on?
Well, so the town hired a new economic development director. His name is Benjamin Cares, and he seems to have a lot of ideas, and he seems to be bringing in folks to Reading in terms of opening businesses and things like that. So he's been sharing his ideas a lot with people. So there's the possibility that we might be amending a few of our regulations this summer. We've been getting calls about permanent makeup and things like that. So I will be bringing back the tattoo regs to the board to amend it. So that's what it's looking like right now. Our fees are a little bit on the low side. I've been working with Cassidy. We actually put together a graph to show what other municipalities are charging and things like that. So I will be proposing fee changes or fee restructuring to the board over the summer as well. So
Great.
it's going to be a busy summer, but we will get through it.
Oh, boy.
Felt like summer today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, beautiful day.
All right, so I would make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a
I
second?
would second it.
Okay, roll call. Carrie,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Brooke, yes.
Thank you
See
all.
everybody in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Recording stopped.